Have you ever been in a room full of people and noticed that one person who barely says a word? While everyone else is competing for attention, they sit quietly, observing everything. Most people think they're shy, boring, or awkward. But what if I told you that the quietest person in the room is often the most intelligent, the most observant, and sometimes the most dangerous? The psychology behind people who don't talk much will blow your mind. Stay until the end, because what you discover might change how you see silence forever. Before we dive deep into this fascinating psychology, if you want more content that reveals the hidden truths about human behavior, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't regret it. Now, let's begin. In a world that celebrates extroversion, loud personalities, and constant communication, quiet people are often misunderstood. They're labeled as antisocial, weird, or lacking confidence. But science and psychology tell a completely different story. People who don't talk much aren't necessarily shy or weak. In fact, their silence often hides extraordinary depth, intelligence, and power. Today, we're breaking down the real psychology of quiet people. Let's uncover the truth. Quiet people don't talk less because they have nothing to say. They talk less because they're too busy thinking, analyzing, and observing everything around them. While everyone else is focused on speaking, they're focused on understanding. Psychologically, this is linked to introversion and high levels of introspection. Their brains are wired differently. Studies show that introverts have more gray matter in their prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for deep thinking and decision-making. This means their internal world is incredibly rich and complex. They notice the details others miss. The slight change in your tone, the body language, the inconsistencies in what you say. They're reading between the lines constantly. This makes them excellent judges of character. They may not speak much, but when they do, their words carry weight because they've already processed everything deeply. This is why quiet people often become great writers, strategists, and problem solvers. They think before they speak, and that's a rare quality in today's world. Quiet people are selective about their words. They don't believe in small talk, gossip, or meaningless conversations. For them, communication has to have purpose and depth. If a conversation doesn't add value, they'd rather stay silent. This stems from a psychological principle called selective engagement. They conserve their mental and emotional energy for interactions that truly matter. Unlike people who talk for the sake of filling silence, quiet individuals only speak when they have something meaningful to contribute. This doesn't mean they're rude or uninterested. It means they respect their own time and energy. They're not trying to impress anyone or seek validation through constant conversation. Their self-worth isn't tied to how much they talk or how much attention they get in relationships. This makes them incredibly loyal and genuine. They don't waste words on fake friendships. If a quiet person talks to you regularly, it means you matter to them. Their silence with others isn't coldness. It's discernment that hears something most people don't realize. Quiet people are often emotionally intelligent. Because they spend more time observing than speaking, they develop a deep understanding of human emotions and behaviors. Emotional intelligence involves self-awareness, empathy, and the ability to read social cues. Quiet people excel at this. They listen more than they talk, which allows them to truly understand what others are feeling. They pick up on emotions that loud, talkative people often miss because those people are too focused on themselves. Psychologists have found that good listeners, which quiet people naturally are, build stronger and more meaningful relationships. People feel heard and valued around them, even if they don't say much in return. This creates trust and deep connections. However, their high emotional intelligence also means they're highly sensitive. They absorb the energy around them. If they're in a toxic or draining environment, they retreat into silence as a form of self-protection. Their quietness isn't weakness. It's a shield. Society has a habit of mislabeling quiet people. If you don't talk much, people assume you're shy, awkward, or even unfriendly. But there's a massive difference between being quiet and being shy. Shyness is rooted in fear and social anxiety. Shy people want to engage, but feel too anxious to do so. Quiet people, on the other hand, choose silence intentionally. They're comfortable with it. They don't feel the need to fill every moment with words. This is called selective mutism in psychology, but not in the clinical sense. It simply means they're quiet by choice, not by fear. They're perfectly capable of speaking when necessary, but they prefer to observe, think, and engage only when it's meaningful. Unfortunately, this often leads to social rejection or misunderstanding. Loud, extroverted people dominate social spaces, and quiet individuals get overlooked or dismissed. But here's the irony. The quiet ones are often the most interesting, creative, and intelligent people in the room. Society just doesn't know how to appreciate them. If you're a quiet person who's been called too quiet or boring, understand this. You're not the problem. The problem is a world that mistakes noise for substance. Quiet people possess a level of self-control that most people lack. In a world where everyone feels the need to react immediately, express every opinion, and share every thought, quiet individuals hold back. And that's a superpower. Psychologically, this is linked to impulse control and delayed gratification. Studies show that people who can control their impulses tend to be more successful in life. Quiet people naturally practice this. They think before they speak, which prevents them from saying things they'll regret later. This also makes them less likely to engage in drama, arguments, or unnecessary conflicts. They choose their battles wisely. While others are caught up in petty fights and ego clashes, quiet people stay focused on what truly matters. This self-discipline extends beyond conversation. Quiet people are often highly focused and goal-oriented. They don't need external validation or constant praise. They work quietly in the background, and their results speak louder than words ever could. In leadership, this trait is invaluable. The best leaders aren't always the loudest. Often, they're the ones who listen, observe, and make calculated decisions. One of the most powerful traits of quiet people is their comfort with being alone. While most people fear loneliness and constantly seek company, quiet individuals thrive in solitude. For them, being alone isn't lonely, it's peaceful. This is rooted in strong internal validation. They don't depend on others for their sense of worth or happiness. They enjoy their own company, their own thoughts, and their own activities. This makes them emotionally independent and mentally strong. Psychologists call this secure attachment to self. They've built a solid relationship with themselves, so they don't feel empty when no one else is around. This is rare and incredibly healthy. However, this comfort with solitude can sometimes be misunderstood. People assume they're lonely or depressed, but that's not the case. Quiet people recharge in solitude. Social interactions drain their energy, so they need alone time to restore balance. If you're someone who needs constant social interaction to feel okay, being around a quiet person might confuse you. But their solitude isn't rejection. It's self-care. Here's the part most people underestimate. Quiet people can be the most powerful and intimidating individuals you'll ever meet. Their silence isn't weakness. It's control. It's mystery. And mystery makes people uncomfortable. When someone doesn't reveal much about themselves, it creates psychological tension. People can't read them, predict them, or manipulate them easily. This gives quiet people a natural advantage in negotiations, confrontations, and power dynamics. History is filled with examples of quiet, reserved individuals who wielded immense power. They didn't need to be loud to command respect. Their presence, their intelligence, and their strategic silence did all the work. In psychology, this is called strategic silence. It's a tool used by negotiators, leaders, and influencers. Silence forces others to fill the void, often revealing more than they intended. Quiet people use this to their advantage, whether consciously or unconsciously. But there's a darker side too. Because they observe so much and reveal so little, quiet people can be unpredictable. If pushed too far, their response can be calculated and devastating. The phrase "still waters run deep" exists for a reason. Never mistake silence for harmlessness.